Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Managing with Mind and Heart. What's our podcast called again? The Managing with Mind and
Managing
What?
with mind and heart.
Heart.
Yes,
Managing with Mind and Soul podcast.
there we
Sundays.
go.
Anyways, welcome to the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast.
Whatever it's called.
Whatever it's called. My name's Ethan Nash, and with me today is my co-host extraordinaire. Introduce
Keep
yourself.
going. Keep going.
That's all.
Extraordinaire. Okay. Yeah, Michael Nash here, and we are really happy to be here today with you all. Ethan, good to see you. We're going to be talking about a really important part of management, which a lot of managers think of as kind of their main job, which is make things work, fix the problems, deal with concerns, right? One of the top 15 management skills is deal with concerns, fix problems. We're going to talk today about a tool to help managers navigate that realm. You know, the idea is that as a manager, I have an open door policy, right? Which means, among other things, open ear policy. You can come to me with anything you want. And I am the one that has to figure out what to do with that. And so we're going to talk about how to discern between those things you should just take on and fix and own versus all that stuff you should maybe give back to someone else because your involvement might cause more problems and everything in between. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it as well. Again, today we're going to work with you all you listeners on learning a simple tool to decide how to respond to employee concerns based on your assessment of the impact of that concern that they're bringing you. And we're going to look at both the organizational impact as well as the impact on that individual bringing you the concern. And so the goal is that you'll walk away with knowing how to choose from 5 different manager responses depending on the level of impact. And so I think that's also the good news here is there's not 50 different manager responses. There's just 5. So we're going to get into that. And let's do it right now. Can you just, Mr. Nash, the senior, could you just give us overview of what are just the 5 different manager responses, just at a high level?
Yes, Junior Nash, I will do that. We've got we're going to number these 2 just for the sake of discussing as we go through today. A 1 is called decline. We'll describe these in a few moments. A 2 is called coach. A 3 is mediate. A 4 is hold. And a 5 is own. Those are the 5 choices, and I'm going to say them again. We have decline, coach, mediate, hold, and own.
Mm-hmm. And the best of the 5 options is own, right? Number 5. Like
Wrong.
these are in rank order.
That is the one though that we often kind of really, knee-jerk to, because as managers, if somebody brings me something, I'm supposed to say, "Oh, thank you for bringing that to me," and you're supposed to take it. And because we don't discern sometimes which ones I should be taking and which ones I should be sharing or not taking at all, we can create a whole lot of confusion and frustration in the organization.
Right. Yeah. And I like the point you made earlier is that, yeah, open door policy is great, but that's different than you are now responsible for everybody's problems.
Right.
Right.
Just because it comes to your door doesn't mean it stays in your office with you. That's true.
Exactly. And so when we talk about this concept in our workshops, we talk about these 2 guiding questions for your decision. And so these are going to be front and center at all times when we're deciding which of those 5 options do we choose as a manager. And those questions are what we call the EIQ question and the OIQ question. So EIQ is the employee impact question, and the OIQ is organizational impact question. Would you just fill in the gaps a little bit with those 2 questions?
Yeah, and just before I do, I want to say that this entire piece of this topic, it's I always want to say it's much more nuancy than we're probably going to give it credit for. Like there's so many gray areas. We're gonna kind of take something that's really nebulous and kind of hard to get our head around, and we're going to try to maybe make it a little bit more mechanical than it actually is.
Mhm.
Lots of nuances here. So, for example, the EIQ, the employee impact question. The question you want to ask yourself when this thing shows up is at your door, or when someone comes to you with it is, in my judgment, does this thing that's coming to me, this behavior that's being reported, this problem that's being brought to me, does it actually impact the person who's complaining ability to do their job? And
Mm,
that's pretty nuanced. Is this thing that's coming to me, in my judgment, actually impacting this person's ability to do their job?
mm,
Now, I'm not asking, does it annoy this person or does it frustrate this person? That could be very true, but in my judgment, not even based on what they're saying necessarily. So, for example, Debbie's been over there looking out the window, not working for 10 minutes, might be the complaint. Now, I'm asking myself, does this impact this person's ability to do their job? And the answer would be no, right?
even if they're saying, "But it's so distracting that she's just looking out the window, I can't do
Right,
my job."
right.
That's where it gets nuanced. It's like,
It
it's
exactly.
not a real impact on your ability to do your job, even if you are saying that it's distracting, I guess. That's where it gets a little fuzzy. So, yes, of
It,
course, 50 Shades of
yes,
Grey and all of this, but
yep, that's exactly right. On the other hand, Debbie's not getting her work done, and she's supposed to hand her work off to me so I can get my work done. Well, yeah, that impacts me, right? So I would be able to give that question, or that I would give it a yes at that point. Now, remember, the answer yes or no here doesn't all by itself dictate what I'm going to do. So we don't want to, I'm not going to immediately go into, get out of my office kind of thing, or none of your business. But yeah, that's the first question, and then the second one,
so the first question was, again, employee impact question.
right? Yeah,
We'll keep
your
going
assessment.
back to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
hmm Second question is the organizational impact question, which is also nuancy, but does this thing, this issue, whatever it is, um, does it or could it, and this is where that gets nuancy, actually impact the health and functionality
Mm,
of this organization? Debbie's been looking out the window for 10 minutes. That's not impacting our organization. Now, what I'm not hearing is that Debbie's looking out the window for 10 minutes every 20 minutes. Now, if I was hearing that, and yeah, I could see why that could be a problem, but
right.
I'm not hearing that, right? So I have to ask myself, is this a thing that it's my responsibility to dig into this one, because I am responsible for the health and functioning of
Mm,
this department, or this part of the organization. So say again, yes or no.
yeah. Yeah. Good. So with the OIQ, the organizational impact question, again, it's does this or could it, right? The impact could be potential, impact the health or function of our team, of our organization overall, which
Right, right,
encompasses a whole bunch of things that could, which is why this is nuanced. And
right.
I
And
know a
then you're going
lot,
to
many people, including myself, often want a exact, precise formula of how to handle management in general and how to handle people.
right.
And it's always just important to call out that anytime you're dealing with people, nothing can be there can never be an exact formula because
Oh,
human problems are so nuanced. But we can have
yes,
principles and frameworks and models for helping us think through this
right,
clearly.
right. And the framework here is going to be taking those two answers, right? Your yes and no for each of those, combining those, and using that as a clue as to which of the five options we're going to choose.
Good. Okay. Okay. We're rocking and rolling now. So
Yeah, let's get into them.
this is point number one. We have these two guiding questions: impact on the employee or impact on the organization. But let's start talking about the different manager responses in relation to these two guiding questions of ours.
hmm hmm
So the first one is, again, option number one, which is our decline, which is essentially saying, if I'm choosing this option as a manager, I'm not going to take any action here. I'm not
Right.
going to do anything about this per se. What are, when we're looking at choosing this option, or if we were to choose this option, what would be our responses to the employee impact question or the organizational impact question? Like, how do those come into play here?
This is the one where both are no. If both answers are no, like in my opinion, this is not actually impacting that person's ability to do their job, and it's not an organizational concern at this point.
Mm.
That's both are no, and that's where I move towards some version of I'm not taking this on.
Mhm.
And I got to say here, it's real important that we understand that this isn't the same thing as saying I should shame that person for talking to me about this. Get out of my office. None of your business. Think of this as educational, right? In fact, I love the kind of the double message here. It could sound like, I'm not going to do anything about this, and here's why. Okay, there's that piece.
Mhm.
And let me help you let go of this. And I
Mm.
might do that by asking, can you help me understand why you're concerned about this? You do a little bit of dialogue, and then maybe coach them toward letting go of this thing. But at the
Mm.
bottom line, you got to be really clear. I'm not taking this on.
Good. Yeah. And I appreciate that that concept there, and I just want to call it out again. And is just the idea here is not don't bring these things to me. Don't no, go away. It's an opportunity for you to actually say, hey, I'd like to figure out how to help you let go of this. How
Right.
can I
Let's
help
speak.
here? Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so,
and you certainly can ask them as you're having that conversation to not bring those things to you anymore. That's fine because again, that's part of the education, part of helping them let go.
I see. Yeah. And so again, with decline, we're saying, does it have an impact on this employee's ability to do their job? No. Is it impacting our organizational health or functionality? No. Okay, we're choosing decline on this. No
Right.
action. Just real quick, what would be one example of a possible decline, like a specific concern someone's bringing to you that you would, as a manager, choose decline?
It might be the smell of garlic on somebody that annoys them. It might be Debbie looking out the window for
Debbie
10
Alcohol.
minutes.
Right. Right.
It might be someone did. I mean, I know this sounds silly, but basically all our examples today, as you and I know, will be real. We've heard all these things. One will be so and so didn't invite me to her wedding, which was a recent one that I heard.
Mhm.
It could be, yeah, any of those kinds of things.
Right.
Can I be clear though, too? It's not something that just I would ask our listeners to be careful of the OIQ on this one. So and so is coming in late every day, and you might think that's a decline because it doesn't impact the person who's complaining, but it's not. So we'll kind of get to that later. That OIQ is
Oh,
not a no. The organizational concern. If somebody really is coming in late
right.
every day, that is a concern. So be careful that this doesn't get confused with this isn't your business.
Right.
I'm going to deal with it, but it's not your business. That's not what this is. This is really, there's not a problem, bottom line.
Which is why we have both those questions. Does it impact this
Exactly.
employee specifically, and or does
Yes.
it impact the organization? Something can,
Yes.
yeah. Anyways, we'll get into all of this, but all right. So then that's response number one. That's
Yep.
decline. We're saying no to the EIQ, no to the OIQ. It's a no, and so then we have response number two, which is coach. So this
Right.
is what we sometimes call advised action, which is, hey, I'm not going to act directly here, but I'm going to in some way help you maybe address this problem yourself. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yes. And the reason we go to this one is because now we're assessing the EIQ, right? The employee impact question as a yes.
Hmm.
It legitimately is an issue or a struggle or a concern. It's not an organizational concern, at least yet. And this is a great opportunity to encourage and coach. That's why we call this one coach, right? To help the other person figure out how they can deal with this, the kind of feedback they might want to give, etc.
I see. Okay. So basically, with this response, I'm going to coach you. It means I'm not going to take ownership of this problem myself as a manager. I'm not going to try to solve it. But I am saying I do see how this would impact your ability to do your job well or feel like you work in a healthy workplace for yourself. Well, maybe not
Yeah.
the last part. That'd be more OIQ, but
Right. Yeah. This is so. For example, if I'm your employee and I come to you Ethan, and say, you know, Brian's playing his music too loud
mhm,
often in the cubicle over there next to mine, and it makes it really hard for me to do my job. You'd ask yourself, okay, what's the EIQ, right? Is it making it hard for me to do my job? Well, yeah, I'm telling you that it is. It's
yeah.
not an OIQ at this point. So how might you respond to something like that?
If I was the manager,
Yeah, Ethan, Brian's playing his music too loud. It frustrates me. I need you to go tell him to turn his music down.
yeah, I can see how that would be frustrating if it's hard for you to concentrate. So, with that, do you want to talk about? Do you want to practice how you might give Brian some feedback? Would you want to kind of run that, um, kind of as a role play, or what do you need from me
Right.
here?
Good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we all were equipped to talk to people about the things we need to talk to people about, right? And this would be a great opportunity to help this person figure out how to have that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what you've seen. From my personal experience, I would say that I think it's this option number two, the coach, that can trip me up the most at times
Hmm.
because I'm having to discern what is just a personal. But I don't even want to say it's a personal problem. It is a personal problem for them. But what is something that I need to give them ownership and responsibility to solve versus I should solve it for them because I do see it's an impact on that employee.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know. What have you?
I think what you're saying is spot on. That's where many managers struggle with this, because I do agree it bothers or concerns you. It is a real concern. That's my job as a manager, right? Is to fix everything, is to advocate, is to deal with your roadblocks for you. However, we can take your own power and your own agency away, and we can actually make the problem worse, right? Imagine me going to Brian, hey, Brian, can't tell you who said this, but somebody wants you to turn down. I'm stirring up more trouble when I go in there and try to fix something that you as an adult should go deal with yourself, right? So we have to kind of differentiate between those two concerns, and I think that's why the OIQ question helps us. It helps
Mhm.
us ask. We ask ourselves that question: Is this actually an organizational concern
Right.
or not?
Because if it's not an organizational concern, but it is an employee concern, we're doing them a disservice by I am going to just solve that for you. In a
That's
sense,
exactly right.
we're taking our power differential and using it in a not super healthy way here, which is
Yes.
anytime you have a problem that is an impact on you, I'll take care of that for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Always come to me. Yep.
yeah. And yes, it is your job as a manager to resolve issues, but it's not your job to resolve everybody's issues. like is is what I like to remind myself, right? And
Right.
part of this is like this whole concept. I think it's an old Polish proverb that essentially is not my circus, not my monkeys.
Right.
Meaning, this is not my
Mm.
problem to solve. And I think in a management workplace context, this is just about having healthy boundaries and empowering other people to solve their problems. Right? This
Because
concern belongs to someone else. I can support, I can
right.
guide, I can coach,
Right.
but I shouldn't take ownership over the problems that
Mm.
aren't mine.
Right. And my job as a manager is to help support you, equip you, empower you. It's not to say, get out of here. It's not my problem. I'm still managing. I'm just doing it through helping you grow your adaptive skills and
Mhm.
helping you be successful. Right.
Yeah.
Now, quick side note on this one. Uh, you go and talk to Brian, and he doesn't respond well. He keeps playing his music. Someone else comes to me with the same concern. There's a point where the OIQ changes, right? And
Mhm.
this is a judgment call, right? And this is where managers have to kind of, use their wisdom to figure out, okay, when did this go from not an organizational concern to an organizational concern?
Right. Or yes, I gave Brian feedback about the music and he said he doesn't care. Right?
Hmm.
Like at that point,
Hmm.
again, that is also a judgment call. They come back to you. It might still be like, hey, maybe I can coach you on a next step here, or hey, you know what,
Mhm.
that's a problem if somebody is
Right.
not willing to take feedback that's reasonable. So yeah, a lot of judgment.
Yeah. Now, one more nuance, Ethan. What if you come to me and say, "Hey, Brian's not playing his music, or Brian's playing his music too loud." I coach you. I
Mhm.
give you some thoughts on how you can do this, and you say to me, "I just don't like conflict. I'm not going to say anything." Okay,
Mhm.
what's my response at that point? You really want me to take care of it because you don't want to take care of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's totally, again, so much of this is nuance of what I'm going to know about the person. I mean, I think it is my instinct to think I don't like conflict. I think it's still an opportunity to maybe coach and guide them
Hmm.
through this. And
Yeah.
this is a part of what it means to be a contributing member of a healthy organization. Is we got to be able to have these conversations. So maybe
Yep.
let's work on this. Let's practice. Let's get some strategies for going into that conversation.
Yep.
I could see
That's
that one
perfect.
as one outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a real a coach, I'm not going to take it back because the employee doesn't want it. That's really important. I need to maybe coach the person to try again, or to help them get the skills, or get some headphones, get some earplugs. I mean, I don't want to create a path to me when somebody doesn't want to deal with something that they actually should deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point. All right. That's option number two.
Hmm.
So we have one, decline. We have two, which is coach. And again, this is a yes, it is impacting the employee, but no, it's not impacting the organization's health. And that leads us to option number three, which is mediate. This is shared action. And with this, what is it, a yes or a no to the EIQ and the OIQ for us to land on mediate?
So what helps me remember this is that the only EIQ no is number one. Everything else is at least a yes on EIQ. Actually, I should take that back. We'll get some exceptions, but it's a yes on EIQ. Um, OIQ is yes or no. This one's tricky, and in fact, we describe mediate as almost a one-off, almost like a. I mean, I joke in class sometimes. Don't try this one at home. It's one that requires some training. It's one that requires some skill, because this is where you decide that this issue that you're facing, it's definitely in the relational category, meaning it's not about policies, it's not about the rules at work, it's not about things that you should go in and just fix in terms of better communication, etc. So it's relational, and it's also, in most cases, ongoing. It's this relational ongoing concern that is not being resolved any other way. And so you may choose to work with two people, right? You might mediate, you might bring a couple people together. There's a whole process behind that around how you might meet with them separately, get them together, help them create some action plans, how they're going to resolve this. Or it might be a larger group. It might be a department who's really struggling with one another. It might be having some issues relationally between many people, and you might want to get together and help them create some common commitments. So anyway, here's a good analogy on the coach item. You're the coach on the sidelines. You do not cross the line.
Mm-hmm.
You're not playing the game. People get off the field, come talk to you. You do some coaching. They go back onto the field. That's the coach. Mediate. You're now on the field, more like the ref, more like the referee.
Mm-hmm.
You're in there. You're still not technically playing the game, but you're helping the players figure this out.
I see. Okay. So with mediate, again, yes, employee impact is an organizational impact. It could be yes, it could be no. But what we're
Mm-hmm.
saying is that we're choosing this option if we recognize the problem is a relational problem between two, and it's an ongoing theme. It's an ongoing trend.
Yeah, and I think the yes or no, now that I'm thinking about it, it's at least leaning toward a yes, right? I mean, to the point where if these two people are struggling and it's ongoing, at some point I have to ask myself, is this becoming an organizational issue, or could it? So I would say it's leaning toward it, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we at least I have often underestimated how a relational issue between two people or two teams starts to spread into the
Hmm.
culture, right? It's
Hmm.
not invisible to everybody else, and their inability to work well together impacts the work product or whatever. And so, yeah, this is where we have to make that judgment call of, yeah, I like how you put that. It's probably leaning towards an organizational impact, even if I'm not seeing that impact
Right,
right now.
right, right.
Okay. So that's
Yeah,
mediate.
that's mediate. Yep.
Okay, great. And so that brings us to our option number 4, which is what?
Hold.
Hold.
And this one is notoriously confusing, I think, for clients often to kind of get their head around this one. Here's something that helps. If you're at if the OIQ is a yes, you are at 4 or 5. It's kind of a general rule. If you are answering the organizational concern question with a yes, you have to pick 4 or 5 every time. So that kind of separates 4 and 5 out a little bit.
I see. Okay.
In both cases, they're yours. In both cases, you're taking them in a sense. The difference between a 4, which is hold, and a 5, which is an own, is that in a hold, you're saying something along the lines of, I've got this. Thanks for bringing this to me. I will deal with it if it reoccurs.
Mm.
Now, that's the key phrase there.
If
This might be asking the employee to, let you know if they see it again. This might be you keeping your eyes on it. But the key phrase is if it reoccurs.
okay.
What kind of situations can you even imagine you would want to wait on, and not act unless it reoccurs?
Um, I would say, for example, somebody, maybe they're bringing to you, hey, somebody is has showed up consistently late to the last several of our team meetings. Um, I could see that as okay, a couple times they showed up late. Let's wait and hold this, as opposed to it being, uh, I'm going to jump in immediately because maybe there was you know, just a situation the last couple weeks.
Right.
It might not necessarily be to the point where it's a total trend that I want to address about
Exactly.
time.
That's exactly right. One of the reasons you choose is because it basically is too early for involvement. You want to see if it's a trend or a pattern. Maybe it was a one-off. Um, maybe someone had a bad day. If whatever, depending on what the issue is. Now this is why this gets really confusing for managers. This is not the same thing as saying I will go look into it
Right.
at all. That's a 5. This is literally I got it, but it actually has to reoccur for me to take action.
I see. Okay. And I can also see that there are probably many cases in which you're kind of doing a hybrid option 4 and option 2. So basically, you're saying, I hear you, I'm going to hold, and maybe I can coach you about how you might want to give this person some feedback um, directly here in the meantime. I don't know.
Yes, except we got to be careful because if it's an OIQ, yes, I think there's some situations that might apply to. We do not want to give employees a 2 to go fix organizational concerns. Often that leads to other problems. Like in case of your example, is it really that person's job to give feedback to the other person about being late? They certainly could, and there's nothing wrong with them doing that. We could suggest it, but it wouldn't be like a real 2 where I'm going to give it to them and not take it if they don't want to do it. That's a real 2, right? So we
Hmm.
want to make sure that we're not asking employees to correct other employees on things that are organizational concerns and policies.
Okay. Let me think through that for a second here, because again, with the example I used, maybe I'm the manager. I'm not involved in these meetings. I'm not a part of these meetings. The employee comes to me. So and so has showed up
Mhm.
late to the last 2 of our team meetings.
Which is a peer, and they're peers, let's
They're
say.
peers. And I'm
Yes,
thinking,
yeah.
okay, yeah, that is an employee impact. It's
Mhm.
an impact on the group. And I could
Right.
see that being an organizational impact if this is a trend of this person showing up. So I'm saying,
Mhm.
okay, I, I'll keep an eye out for this, or let me know if this kind of keeps happening thing. And hey, have you given that person feedback? Have you talked to them about it? well, no, I didn't talk to them about it. Well, can we maybe brainstorm about how you might give that person just some feedback here? Maybe that's just they need to hear it. I don't know. I just I see the
So
case for empowering people. The problem that I often see and experience is that we as managers, like, we take on problems even if they are an organizational impact that could be resolved at a lower level, even if it is an organizational impact. Right? If that can get resolved at the lowest level, I think that's often better than the manager having to come in, as long as that doesn't damage those relationships.
what you're getting at is in class we actually talk about what's a real two
Hmm.
and what's a suggested two, and that's really important that we differentiate. And in this case, it has to be suggested. Like if like you could actually, depending on the relationship, you're right. There appears, hey, would you be comfortable giving this person feedback about that?
Hmm.
It would be absolutely in the realm of would you be comfortable. I'm not going to require you to. I'm not even going to say you should, because that is where we can also cause problems where employees feel like this person with the power differential has given it right back to them to go deal with an organizational concern that's really not theirs to deal with. And so now they're having to, quote, confront a peer when the manager should be dealing with it. So in that case, I'd say, yeah, I mean, if they have a good relationship and if that makes sense in that environment, hey, would you be willing to say something, so that person knows it's a problem and it's bothering you and the others? Great. If they'll do that, I agree with you. If we can encourage and coach people to have those conversations, but it's a suggested two. It's not a real two would be if they say no, I'm not going to deal with it either. Like the person playing his music too
Right.
loud.
Right. That makes sense. So here it's like somebody is going to deal with it one way or the other, or at least I'm going to keep it on my radar. And it'd be like there are definitely situations where it would be great if you could resolve this at the lowest level. And if they're just not willing to do that, I can't force their hand, and it still needs to be dealt with some way. And so therefore, it's my responsibility to deal with it.
Yeah. And I think if they say, if they're, any version of I'm not comfortable having that conversation, I have to really honor and respect that. Like that isn't their job. So, but
Hmm.
but yeah, I love it. I love it as an option in some cases. Not in all cases, of course, but yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, this equation would shift a little bit, right? If this person coming to me, hey, so and so is late to our team meetings, and this person is like the project lead, for example, right? So
The
they're
person that's coming to me.
yeah, the person is coming to
Oh,
me. You say it's a project
yes.
management team. They're not this
Yep.
person's not necessarily their direct manager, but hey, you are the project lead for this project that you're meeting about. That might shift a little bit, right? Because now I'm saying,
Hmm.
hey, you're the project lead. I want to coach you to kind of get what you need
Hmm.
from the people that you're working with.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a true two, because now I'm saying to myself, whose role really is it to have this conversation?
Okay.
And they say I'm not comfortable. I'm going to do some more coaching. I'm going to do some role playing, help them do that. And I'm not going to jump in on that one if
Hmm.
they refuse to do it. Right. That really is their job. If that's clear that that's their job. So absolutely.
All right.
I think the key there is in all these nuances, it has to do with peers versus not peers. That's where the suggested two thing becomes
Yeah.
the thing.
Okay. All right. I'm with you on that. Okay. So this is option
Good discussion.
4. This is hold. The employee impact question. It's yes or a no, but probably leaning a little bit towards maybe a yes on that. And the organizational impact is yes, there is an organizational impact here, real or potential. So I'm holding it, which brings us to option number 5, our final option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a note on both 4 and 5, the EIQ, it could really be, but not even leaning toward yes. It could be clear no or clear yes. I mean, if so and so is embezzling, I'm kind of giving you a wild example. Um, that's not that's not impacting the person who's complaining at all.
Not yet.
But they better, yeah, not yet. But they better say something, right? Or the person that's late every day might not impact them at all.
Hmm.
But it is an organizational concern. So yeah, 5 is an own. This is simple, but again, sometimes hard for managers to kind of get their head around this. It is anything at all that you say, I got it. And that includes any version of I'm going to look into it. That's where people get a little confused. I'm going to go look into that because the thing you're saying to me, the thing you brought to me might only be half true. It might only be your perspective. It might not, you don't have all the facts. I'm going to go look into that. Just those words, I'm going to go look into it, makes this a 5. That's different than a 4, which is, hey, I got this, or, thanks for bringing that to me. It needs to occur again for
I
me to
see.
respond.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. That's a good way to kind of differentiate those two. So if I got this right, 4 is I'm holding it because I'm going to wait to see its impact or if it reoccurs. So I'm holding it. And 5 is I'm definitely going to deal with it, or I'm at least going to look into it at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to take it on and figure it out, wherever that lands. And it might not land on anything. So, who knows? But I got it.
Okay, gotcha. So option 5 is own, which is yes, you are taking action. So it's kind of the response is I got this. Thanks for bringing it to me. I'll take care of
Yep.
it. I'll look into it, which is the organizational impact is a yes. And the employee impact, it could be a yes or it could be a no. Doesn't have to be both for you to doesn't have to be both an employee impact and an organizational impact for you to choose I owning this. As
Yeah.
long as
Fours
it's
and fives. Yep.
as long as it's an organizational impact and it's something that you see as a thing that needs to be addressed immediately, it's a known.
Yeah, a 4 or a 5. Yes, it's a 4 or a 5 if it's a yes on the OIQ for sure. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Hey,
God.
can we just really quickly go through the messages? I just think it's really helpful, really fast. Let's just take turns on the messages. So the message for a 1 is, hey, it's some version of I'm not going to deal. That's a decline. I'm not going to do anything about this, and let me help you understand why,
Mm-hmm.
and let me help you let go of that. That's a 1.
So option number 1, decline. Okay. Option number 2, which is coach. The general message is I'm not going to act directly here, but I can try to help you find a way to address this problem yourself.
That's good. Yep, that's a coach. Number 3 is a mediate. I'm going to get involved here, get the two of you together and work this out, or get a group together and create some commitments.
Okay. And I like how you said that number 3, once you get into the number 3 realm, you're coming off the sideline as a coach and you're getting involved as a referee. And so number 4, which is hold, I'm holding this. And again, there is an organizational impact here. I'm saying, hey, thanks. Thanks for bringing this to me, and I got it. I'm going to deal with it if it reoccurs, basically, or kind of please let me know if this problem continues.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I'm holding it for until I get kind of further information about it or see further details.
Yeah, not further information, but unless you see it again happen, that's how 4 and 5 gets mixed up. Yeah,
Yeah.
4 is 4. You're not holding for more information.
Well, I could. Yeah.
5.
Gotcha. Yeah.
5 is you're holding for more information. Yeah. So 5 is own, and that probably means I'm going to go get information and look into it and ask some questions and etc. So that's a 5.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you have it. Those are the 5 responses. You have decline, you have coach, you have mediate, you have hold, you have own. And when you're making your decisions, you're looking at is there an employee impact here or is there an organizational impact here? Those 2 questions should help guide your responses.
Yeah, and then just last couple things here real quick. There's 2 principles you want to keep in mind, and one is you have to say out loud what you're going to do to which one you're choosing, not what you're going to do specifically, of course, which one you're choosing. And of course, you're not going to say, I'm choosing 3, I'm choosing 4, because they have no idea what you're talking about. You just have to say it. You have to use the words. So for example, if I go to you, Ethan, and say, Debbie's been looking out the window, not working for 10 minutes. And you say, well, thanks for bringing that to me. What have you just told me right there? You've said, I'm going to deal with it, which you're not going to deal with it because there's nothing to deal with, which makes you look inconsistent. It also says, bring stupid stuff to me whenever you want. When you say thanks for bringing that to me,
Right.
So you're giving the wrong message. You're not saying what you meant to say, which is a 1, a decline. And you say, hey, I'm not going to deal with this. Let me help you understand why. Can I help you let go of that?
So is one thing you're saying here is even saying thank you for bringing this to me is inappropriate language when choosing option 1 because you're
Absolutely.
not thankful for them bringing it to you. No, I
Yeah,
say that
yeah.
kind of tongue in
No,
cheek, but you're eventually
exactly.
saying this isn't a problem I'm going to deal with, and so
Yeah,
thank you
yeah,
is
yeah.
yeah.
Instead, ask them why it's troubling them. Make sure you state the one, the decline message. Thanks for bringing that to me. It's a 4 or a 5.
Okay,
So you just want to say what which option you're choosing is a really important principle. Otherwise, we look really inconsistent
that makes
to the
sense.
employees.
So follow up question on that: would you recommend that if a leader out there, a manager, they really feel like they got this model, this concept down, for them to even just do a little teach back, a training with their team, just to be able to say, hey, here is how I think about the problems that I deal with in my role, and I want to give you the same language, so I can even say, hey, I'm choosing an option 1 on this, and there's just that common language? Or do you think this might be one of those tools that it's like, I don't know, that could do more damage by having this systematic way that I think through this with you? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't know. I think I see value in that. Actually, I see value in maybe not the mechanical part of it, maybe not doing the 1 through 5 with the employees, but at least helping them understand. Clearly there's going to be situations. I have an opener policy for sure. Come
Mhm.
talk to me. Sometimes I'll just help you work it out. Meaning I'll help you let go of it. Maybe you needed to vent. We'll kind of get through
Yeah,
it that way. Sometimes I might give you some advice.
yeah,
Sometimes I'll take it on. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
yeah. I like what you said there. I mean, I'm spinning off it, but I think the most simple way to explain this to your team is like, I look at, does it impact you and your ability to do your job, and I also look at does it impact
Hmm.
our organizational health and function overall.
Yep.
Those are both things that I'm considering when I figure out how I want to respond to concerns.
Yep. Yep.
Just talk
That's
about
really good.
2 basic frameworks.
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing to keep in mind is that the ultimate veracity of what they're telling you when they come in isn't actually really relevant
Mm,
to which one you're going to choose, which makes it possible once you kind of get this down to be able to choose
mm,
in the moment. You don't usually have to go away and think about this.
mm.
So when someone comes and says, hey, so and so's, I'm using a dumb example because it's not a common thing, but so and so's embezzling, whatever, that might not be true, right? But that doesn't change that I had to pick which number.
Oh,
That's a
yeah,
5, right?
fine.
No
Yeah,
matter what, right?
yeah. So I see what you're saying. It's like you take what they're saying at its face, essentially,
Hmm. Hmm.
until you find out more, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yep.
we'll use your silly example. I'm embezzling. That might not have been true, right? But I'm still saying I'm choosing a 5. I'm going to look into this, as
Right.
opposed to, hey, look it, I don't know if that's true or not. I think you should let this go for now.
Let this go, or go give some feedback. Why don't you
Yeah.
go give her some feedback about her embezzling?
Right. Right. I see what you're saying. Okay, gotcha, gotcha. And by the way, folks, this is one of those pretty visual concepts, and so we've put up a blog post on our website that shows a little bit of. It shows these 5 options and the questions you'll ask for each of those options, as well as a decision kind of making tree essentially that can help provide some guidance. So I will link to that blog post in our show notes for you to look at that. And to finish off the episode today, can I just throw like 3 or 4 case studies at you, and you think through those case studies using this big idea that we've covered
Fun,
today? Okay.
fun. That sounds fun. Yes.
All right.
The
So
test. I like
this,
tests.
hey, everybody, quick interruption here. I have 2 things for you. I have an announcement and I have an ask. First, for the announcement, I wanted to let you know that registration is now open for our signature leadership development workshop series. This is Managing with Mind and Heart. It's the online experience, and if you register, you will be joining thousands of other leaders who have participated in this workshop series. We're talking a skill-focused, practical, human-centered management training, and you'll be participating in it in a cross-industry cohort of other leaders. We would also like to give you, our dear listeners, a gift. So if you'd like to register for this, use the discount code MINDANDHEARTPOD, all spelled out. MINDANDHEARTPOD for 20% off. this workshop series. Additionally, just a quick ask, if you appreciate this show, if you get value out of this show and you'd like to support us, the best way you can do so is by subscribing and leaving us a review. This helps other people find the show. All right, that's it. Thank you. All right, so I'm the employee, you're my manager.
As it
So,
should be.
all right. And so, hey, look, Mike, I got to tell you something, all right? Usually when you're not around, this person over there, he's pretty rude to us. He yells at us. And actually, yesterday he got mad and he actually knocked a book out of my hand.
Well, good luck with that. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's a really great one to start with because
Wait, the first question you got to ask here is, what type of team are we talking about? Right? What if this was a football team? Just some locker room BS. We're yelling at each other, knocking playbooks out of each other's hands. It
okay,
changes
are
context.
you trying to make this really complicated for me?
I'm just kidding. All right, let's proceed.
Let's pretend we're in a regular office space or some kind of, folks that work out in the field together in a, construction or some kind of situation where I have an employee who's coming to me and they started off with some rude, talked about rude, some stuff that, might not rise up too far on my scale of an organizational concern, but you got to one point there at the end, right? Knocked a book out or knocked a phone out of my hand or whatever, right? That's a big deal. And out in the real world, that might be dealt with a certain way, but here in captivity, we call that workplace violence.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever actually happened, once I dig in, it's not really relevant to the moment. In the moment, I have to say to myself, is this an organizational concern? Yes, because it's called workplace violence. And I can't do anything other than go dig into that. Go look into it. I have to dig into that. That's
Okay.
a 5.
So it's a 5. You're owning this. You're taking action. And in this case, it would both be an employee impact and an organizational impact, of course.
Yeah, and there was a situation 12, 15 years ago that was pretty similar to that in the organization. And the manager, there turned out to be a court case, and the organization lost. And it was because the manager chose a 3. The manager chose mediate. Basically, the idea was, well, these two people aren't getting along, so let's get them together, let's talk it out. And there's nothing wrong with that at some point along the journey. But the way that looked in court was, oh, great, this person committed violence against this other person, and you got them in a room together, right?
Right. Here's another case study. Hey, so and so, she is super rude. When I come into the office, she totally ignores me when I say good morning. And she also is talking about me to other people, and just causes me a lot of stress at work.
That's a great example because that's real life. And I would say at face value, like right up front, I'm going to lean toward, first of all, let's ask the questions, right? Is it impacting the employee? What would you say, Ethan, if you were in my shoes here? Is this impacting the employee?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
for sure. Not having that camaraderie there, as well as being talked about to others behind your back. Yeah.
Yeah. I put this between a 1 and a 2, and here's why. Is it impacting the person's ability to do their job? I'm going to think maybe not, but I'm going to give benefit of the doubt here, and I'm going to be empathetic and graceful and assume that, yeah, if this person's perception is they're being treated this way, it's probably going to cause some stress. It's probably going to be hard for them to have high morale. So yeah, I'm going to lean toward a 2. It is actually impacting that person. Is it an organizational concern? Not yet. So I'm going to start with coach. I'm going to start with, this is uncomfortable, but this sounds like a great opportunity for you maybe to have a conversation with her. And can I help you with some verbiage? We could even role play it. Now, might this become an organizational concern at some point? I can see how it might at some point.
Yeah, I can see it leaning towards that. I think one of the key phrases here was, they're talking about me to others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, okay, so now we're talking about triangulation, which can be a big cultural killer, for lack of a better term. And so part of this, you could also be, I mean, your assessment would also be, have I seen this person talk about,
Hmm.
others behind their back. I mean, that could be something I need to actually maybe own as a manager if somebody is triangulating and gossiping behind, people's back.
Yeah, it's a fine line. If I have not heard that complaint from anybody else, if I haven't seen
Right.
anything like that, I might kind of stay with the two. If it is something I'm seeing or hearing about, it definitely rises to a 4 or a 5 at that point.
Yeah. Good point. Hearing somebody talked about me behind my back for the first time
Yeah,
to immediately
right.
jump to, well, this is a
Yes,
big triangulation issue. I'm going to need to go in and own this and solve it. It's like
creates more of a problem.
creates more of a problem. Have
Yes,
people work
yes,
to resolve these things if they can.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So how about this one? Hey, so and so unfriended me on Facebook
I'd fire the employee immediately.
for still using Facebook. Yeah, come
Yeah,
on.
really, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
That's it, exactly. Big one.
big one.
Big one on
Yeah.
that one. Yeah. Yeah. And again, I just to be clear on that, obviously I don't want to be dismissive or condescending to the employee that's, concerned about that. But coaching, not the official number two coach, a different kind of coaching, like help them let go, help them, maybe ask some questions, help them kind of get their head around the idea that this really isn't a thing
Mhm.
that needs to bother you, etc. So
Okay.
tricky.
Well, taking a step further though, how about I was on Facebook last night. This person unfriended me, but I also saw that they were bad mouthing our organization on Facebook. I saw some posts talking naughty about us or bad.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that was tricky, and we actually talk about that in the workshop, and there's very different responses based on the culture of the organization, based on kind of where they're landing on this sort of thing. But my personal opinion is, um, if you have an employee who is um, basically talking badly about the place they work outside of work, that's at least worth me looking into that. That
Mhm.
at the very least, that's at least worth me just asking some questions, figuring out what's going on. um, there's a little bit of a nuance here between, I had a really bad day at work because the copier didn't work. Okay, well, that's a one
Right.
versus, my organization is doing something unethical, or, my
Right.
boss sucks and here's their name,
Right.
that kind of thing I'm going to have to look into. So I'm taking a 5 that doesn't necessarily say what I'm going to do, where I'm going to land, but I'm at least going to be concerned.
That makes sense. Yeah, there's a big difference between leaders at so and so organization are completely incompetent and unethical even versus LOL, the coffee at my work is the worst.
Yeah, right.
SMH.
Well, yeah, whatever those
Yeah,
letters stand for. Yeah.
yeah. I gotcha. Okay.
What was that? What was the last one? Is that shaking my head? What?
SMH, I just learned this
eh,
one. This is shaking my head.
Shaking my head. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Our
Okay.
listeners are going to think we're just super old.
We're super hip. Um anyways, any other case studies you want to throw out here that would be instructive? Or maybe that's a good place to wrap it up today.
Yeah. How about if I give you one and then we'll be done.
Okay.
This one's we referred to this earlier, but I'm just want you to know, so and so over here um, seems to come in late 2 or 3 days a week. 10, 15 minutes late. Now, to make this harder maybe for you, Ethan,
Mhm.
I'm complaining about this. I'm not impacted actually at all by this. So this
Right.
person who's coming in late, I still can do my job, but I want to let you know this person's coming in late.
Okay, so you're just saying this person's coming in consistently 10 to 15 minutes later, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, it's been going on for several weeks, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So I'll think through my two questions. Is it an employee impact? Does it impact this employee? Clearly, no. Doesn't impact their ability to do their job. Is there an organizational impact? I would say yes.
mhm,
Right? If there obviously is not assuming that we have a time that we've asked everybody to come in by.
right, right,
Yeah, I mean that could seep into the culture, uh,
yep,
create a norm that you don't want to create here. Could I mean lot of impacts that could have organizationally, culturally. So I would say yes, there is an organizational impact. So at that point, I'm knowing this an organizational impact. I know I'm already at a 4 or a 5 with that.
Mhm.
And so
Yep.
with this, I might choose a 4. Hey, you know, I'll keep an eye out for it.
Mhm.
Um, or I could also see a 5 if it's maybe clear or I've seen it before. And
Yeah, or there's clock in times you can just go check or
right.
whatever, right?
Yep.
Now the problem is if that I brought that to you and you said something like in your mind you're thinking you're going to do a 4 or a 5, but you say to me, "Hey, that's really not your business. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
The message is, "Oh, great. New start time whenever
Right.
I want to come in," right? And plus it's not fair and we are so geared toward fairness. And so giving that kind of message to an employee is pretty negative.
Yeah. What you communicate is often just as important as the actual actions you take in a management position.
Hugely. Yes. Yep.
You can take the right actions, but communicate something different and you do some damage.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, good. All right, folks. So, just to leave you with a quick summary, we talked about 5 different manager responses to employee concerns, and to help us figure out which response we should choose, we talked about 2 questions. Does this impact the employee? And does it impact the organization? And those 5 manager responses are, of course, decline, coach, hold, and own. And I hope you got some new tools here today, folks. Again, we'll link to a blog in the show notes for you to get a visual of this. And besides that, keep tuning in for more episodes, and I appreciate you all.
Thanks, everybody.